Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to another premiere draft of Throne of Eldraine. This is a flashback draft years in the making. I believe this set was from 2019, so it's been quite some time. This was our very first trip to Eldraine, the fairy tale themed plane. Very cool setting, very cool set in general, bringing us the adventure mechanic and a pretty sweet draft format. So without further ado, I'm very excited to hop back into Throne of Eldraine drafts for this week of Premier Drafts. Let's go ahead and grab our Pack 1, Pick 1 Stone Coil Serpent. This is just an excellent card to Pack 1, Pick 1, being a very, very solid finisher in any deck you play. Thanks to being completely colorless, it's just going to be a big reach trample threat that also has some protection that's sometimes relevant. So great card to pick early since it's super wide open. If we're talking about raw power level, if we want to take a more restrictive card here, I do think Drown in the Loch is actually really good in the blue-black archetype in the format. It's kind of a mill deck, so you can have a lot of cards in your opponent's grave to make that a very flexible counter or removal spell. But Stone Coil Serpent is a very easy way to start off a draft. For pick number 2, we've got some pretty sweet options again. I like Trail of Crumbs quite a bit. So you get a food token when you play it, and then every time you sack a food, you get to look at the top 2 cards of your library, reveal a permanent, and put 1 into your hand. You do have to spend 1 extra mana to do that, but turning all of your food tokens into a little bit of card draw can end up in a huge swing in card advantage throughout the game for you. Can get you really far ahead. And since you're gaining life every time you're sacrificing the food tokens are kind of buying the time you need to be dirtling around with the card draw that Trail of Crumbs gives you. So I really, really like building around this card. I'm probably a bit biased towards it, or maybe it isn't the strictly strongest card here, but I'm a big fan of Trail of Crumbs food decks, and so I think that is what I am going to take here. Other options, Reaper of Night plays consistently well at the top of the curve. Runaway Together is deceptively good in a format with adventure creatures, because all of the adventure creatures are like you get a spell worth of value out of them, then you cast them as a creature later. Well, with Runaway Together, you bounce your opponent's creature that doesn't have a good effect when it enters the battlefield or anything, and bounce your own creature that has a good adventure you want to recast and stuff. So I do think Runaway Together is actually a much higher pick than it looks like, and than it would be in most formats. For pick 3 here, I'm pretty happy to take Sir Conrad the Grim, head towards green-black food. Black and green are the 2 colors that produce the most food tokens in this format by quite a bit, so it's gonna be the best color pair to try to get our Trail of Crumbs working, and Sir Conrad's just an excellent finisher in general. 5 mana for a 5/4, and anytime any creature dies, any creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, then you get to shoot your opponent for 1 damage. So there's a built-in way on Sir Conrad himself to just keep milling everybody and triggering that extra piece of life loss there. But even just when creatures are trading off, when your opponent's discarding cards, if you're milling them with other cards, you can get a bunch of extra damage off of Sir Conrad out of nowhere. So we'll take that. For pick 4, we are getting cut off of green a little bit here. 0 green cards in the pack, 0 black cards either, so we have to speculate on another color no matter what, unless we want to take just like a pretty medium value land like Castle Lochthwain or Gingerbread Cabin, but I don't think I'm locked in enough on either of these colors to want to take a land here. I'm going to go for Merfolk Secret Keeper. This is kind of the mythic common of the format. Blue-black mill is the strongest archetype, and it was absurdly busted during quick drafts of the format because the bots would almost never take the Secret Keepers. It's probably going to be a little bit more fair, a little bit more balanced in Premier Draft, but still an incredibly powerful place to be, and the Secret Keeper is a card that synergizes quite well with Sir Conrad. Both of those cards would fit very well into a blue-black mill deck. For pick 5, we have the Runaway Together, which works excellently with the Secret Keeper to make sure we can mill our opponent another 4 off of that adventure. So if we want to lock on that, then that's quite reasonable. Alternatively, we can stay wide open by taking the Golden Egg here, a fine filler card for literally any deck. It's fixing or life gain for anything, while drawing you a card right when you play it to just pay for itself immediately. Golden Egg, the super safe pick, but I'm going to go for the Runaway Together here. I think if we're going to get past like pick 4 Secret Keepers, it's a decent enough sign that this might be a draft pod where the player on our right at least is not interested in Secret Keepers, and if we can get 2 or 3 copies of this and 2 or 3 copies of Runaway Together, that's enough to mill somebody's entire library. Pick 6, pretty reasonable to stick to blue with the blue removal spell of Charmed Sleep here. getting very cut off of green. Also black as well, not in the pack either. Most open color here looks like white, where there's 2 reasonable cards. I think both of these are pretty much just as good as the Charmed Sleep. The Trapped in the Tower is very equivalent to Charmed Sleep. It's basically just another enchantment-based removal spell. The Archon's probably a tiny bit better. 3/2 flying protection from white, so in the right matchup, that protection's super helpful, but otherwise just taxing your opponent a little bit on attacks is just fine. So not super duper high on the card. Pick 7, pretty easy additional Charmed Sleep here, and everything in this pack is actually quite filler at this point. Yeah, I think Charmed Sleep is just genuinely the best card regardless of color here. And now for pick 8, there is that golden egg for flexibility. Because everything in the pack is pretty mediocre and pretty filler, we go ahead and take the golden egg here. And pick 9, Drown in the Loch. We wheeled it all the way around, and I think it was one of the strongest cards in the pack. The biggest flaw, the biggest thing against it is that it is a multicolored spell, so it locks you into a specific 2-color pair. But in this pod, it looks like we're pretty happy to get locked into blue-black. Blue, at least, looks wide open. Black, not so much. But I think blue-black is so powerful that if you're super deep into blue and you can just get all the Secret Keepers, that's enough to go for the archetype. So we'll take the Drown in the Loch here. For pick 10, Mystical Dispute is fine filler no matter what. 3 mana, counter unless they pay 3, and if you're in a blue mirror match, then it plays super well, casting it for only 1, so I'll take that over the Scalding Cauldron, I think. Pick 11, not a big fan of Memory Theft or Forever Young. Actually, Forever Young is probably the best here, because Moonlit Scavengers, you need an artifact and an enchantment to get the trigger off of it. I mean, Forever Young is always reasonable, and it's main deckable like anti-mill tech. Like, your worst case scenario with Forever Young is you put your best creature in your grave on top of your library and redraw it. I guess you could put 0 on top, so much like Golden Egg, it can always just cycle itself away. Yeah, there's really not the worst case scenario in the world. I'm actually going to rare draft for gems here. I don't think we're going to be heavy enough into black to run the Witch's Cottage. We might be heavy enough in blue to run Mystic Sanctuary. The non-basic commons in this format want you to be really deep into one color. Mono-colored is one of the draft archetypes you can draft in the set, which is pretty cool because that doesn't happen super often. And these non-basics are one of the reasons to do that. So we're obviously very far from mono black, a little closer to mono blue, where that Mystic Sanctuary could play well. So pack 2, pick 1. I'm a big fan of Revenge of Ravens. Makes it really, really hard for your opponent to attack in enough times to finish you off because they are costing themselves life every time any of their creatures attacks. It's gonna just completely shut off any like token deck with just a bunch of 1 and 2 power creatures. They're really doomed once you resolve this. I'm a big fan of this, but Fae of Wishes is also just incredible value no matter what. A 2 mana 1/4 flyer is just a really good rate, and you get that adventure as well. 4 mana, grab whatever you want from your sideboard, put it into your hand, and then maybe do it again later off of Runaway Together. So pretty close pick there, but I will actually go for Fae of Wishes and maybe stay super deep on blue, since black is really just a little bit of a splash here. We're not incredibly tied there. Pack 2, pick 2, pretty easy Enchanted Carriage. Love this card in any deck. Just very, very solid stat line for whatever you're playing. 5 mana for 2 1/1s and a 4/4. You do have to crew the 4/4, but the 2 1/1 mice are enough to crew that vehicle. So you're getting 6 power and toughness spread amongst 3 creatures for 5 mana. It's pretty dang good. Pick number 3 now. There's a Reeve Soul for some cheap removal out of black. That seems pretty reasonable. I like that better than Frogify. And Corridor Monitor is quite filler. And nothing strong off color to push us off of the direction we're in. We'll take a Reeve Soul here. Pick number 4. There's another Drown in the Loch. Seems good to me. Taking that over, basically just a mediocre draw spell with Foreboding Fruit. That's fine. We'll take the Drown in the Loch. Pick number 5. Wicked Guardian plays really well, but you do have to draft around it a little bit. You want to have some creatures with more than 2 toughness on your board. That way, this is just a 4 mana 4/2 draw card. If you can get that deal out of it, it's a great deal. And we have a start. We have a 0/4, we have a 1/4. We want to get some more of these cheap high toughness creatures ideally, because currently we're actually pretty low on creatures in general. So it might be safer to just take like So Tiny here, since we don't have many sturdy creatures for that card. I guess I will take that. Definitely weaker in a vacuum, but because we're not guaranteed to be able to get the card draw worth of value off the 4/2, we can take something that we just definitely play out of our blue with the So Tiny. And it looks like we're going to get past less blue stuff from this direction, because there was so much blue getting past that ourselves and some players on our left hopped into the color here. We'll take Improbable Alliance. Pretty good card for the blue-red draw 2 deck if we somehow get completely pushed off of black. Then Lost Legion is fine filler that also happens to be 3 toughness. If we can wheel that witch, we can shoot this and draw a card. Pick number 8. Nothing much here. There's Mad Ratter for the draw 2 deck. I don't think we're going to have enough food tokens to try to do bog naughty things in blue-black, so I will speculate on the Mad Ratter for the draw 2. Just as a backup, since there's no way we play the other card. We don't have a lot of knights here. We'll just take the Prophet of the Peak for a filler top-end creature. Now a filler turtle. Actually, Eye Collector's okay. With 2 copies of Drown in the Loch, we do want some random, like, incidental mill. Make sure our opponent's graveyard has some cards in it so that those Drown in the Lochs do something for sure. Alright, pretty weak pack 2 for us, but judging by how our first pack went, pack 3 should be where we can really improve this deck and cut some of our filler like Wishful Merfolk and Prophet of the Peak or Bog Naughty here. Get more streamlined on the mill strat. But we'll see. This could be a train wreck. If everybody on our right hopped into blue-black mill and we get no cards towards the archetype, that would be awkward, but if not, we should be good. Well, this is already a really awkward decision. So Secret Keeper has incredible synergy for the deck while just being a very good card. We have 2 copies of Drown in the Loch that really want that mill. We have a Sir Conrad that wants the mill quite a bit. It synergizes with the first Merfolk Secret Keeper to make it more likely we get a mill victory. It synergizes with Runaway Together and So Tiny. There's so many cards in our deck that really want the Secret Keeper. I think I have to take it over just a straight up Bomb Rare Clackbridge Troll, because this is just like a straight up good card, but this is like a piece that our deck is really missing right now. So I'm going to take the Merfolk Secret Keeper here. For pack 3, pick 2, there's a Didn't Say Please, which is perfect. Counterspell and mill your opponent 3. Scoop that up. Very, very happy with it. Pack 3, pick 3. We're certainly going to be heavier on blue than black. Is it to the point where I want to play Turn into a Pumpkin over Bake into a Pie? Fully destroying something's generally much better than bouncing it, but bouncing and drawing a card is pretty great value, and we will consistently hit Adamant for that. I think I want Turn into a Pumpkin over Bake into a Pie. This also has the flexibility of bouncing our own Secret Keeper if our opponent is low enough on cards to try to mill them out. So I'm going to take Turn into a Pumpkin over Bake into a Pie, weirdly enough. I'm hoping that the Drown in the Loch kind of stuff, the Charm Sleeps, are going to be enough for permanent removal that we can just take the bounce spell there. Now, pick 4, we get Sir Eleonora. Just straight up card draw the second you cast her, immediately replaces herself, and decently beefy creature depending on the cards in hand. Yeah, hard to target too. I like Sir Eleonora here over Mystical Dispute mainly. Cauldron Familiar, there's a really fun combo in the format if you can get it with the Witch's Oven. But I was going to say, pack 3 I think is a little late to try to see both of those cards. But of course the Witch's Oven shows up right after the Cauldron Familiar. That's kind of depressing. Well, we did up our count of higher toughness creatures. We now have 2 Secret Keeper, Corridor Monitor, Fae of Wishes, Lost Legion, Sir Eleonora and stuff. So Wicked Guardian looks a little more reasonable this time around. Pick number 6, Reeve Soul looks perfectly fine, but I actually kind of like the big chunk of non-creatures I have right now. I kind of want to just grab another creature with this Tome Raider. Just a solid filler creature, immediately replaces itself, gets a chump block in there, maybe even gets a chump block plus like a runaway together to redraw another card later. Just a great value play. Speaking of runaway together, this deck is perfect for it, and will absolutely take a second copy. And for pick 8, we'll grab a Vantress Paladin that's likely to get cut. And the rest of this draft, we're taking stuff that's likely to get cut. Although a second Eye Collector, I can absolutely use more Incidental Mill with the Double Drown. Pick 11. Queen of Ice, I guess? A little bit of stunning going on, slowing our opponents down. Moonlit Scavengers. I guess it's if you control an artifact or enchantment. I did misread it the first time, so it is actually playable in here. Probably still not great, but we do have a few artifacts and a few enchantments, so the odds of having one or the other on board is pretty decent by turn 6. We'll probably have a Charmed Sleep or a So Tiny for removal, or have one of our own like artifact threats like the Carriage or the Serpent or something. So the fact that it is either or, I think, makes that Scavengers actually pretty playable. Forgot the card. It has been a while. Alright, so we're at 51 cards right now. We get to cut 11 out of this deck, 100% cutting the Merfolk. The Vantress Paladin, the Steelgaze Griffins, the Bog Naughty, we're just not doing food stuff. Maybe the Prophet of the Peak, we've got that Scavengers over it here. It definitely seems better. 5 more cuts to go. Looking for our most filler non-creatures now. Golden Egg is good filler, but it's filler nonetheless. Same with like Forever Young here. And if we really need it as like the anti-mill tech, I can always Granted for it. Well, not always, but if I'm lucky, I can Granted for it from the sideboard in a pinch. This Fae of Wishes is going to be incredible because we're cutting so many cards here that's just like everything we cut is just another option for Granted on Fae of Wishes. Right, we can just grab a big flyer out of the sideboard, or Graveyard Recursion, or Fixing, or just a big top-end creature. Yeah, Fae of Wishes is going to be fantastic in here. And it even has a built-in way, if you're flooding out in the late game, to redo its Granted there, its Adventure. If you flood out in a top deck where you just discard 2 lands, put it back in your hand, get ready to pull out another card from your sideboard, and just keep casting spells no matter what you're drawing, so big fan of that. I mean, 3 cards to cut here. I feel like our most filler creatures are like Lost Legion, just play it on curve, scry a little, Queen of Ice, just slow things down a little bit. But then in cutting these, I'm cutting 2 of our cards that can survive a Wicked Guardian shot, and this starts getting pretty low on cards to shoot. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures that are less than 4 mana that this can shoot and draw us the card. So there's only 4 other cards that combo with it on curve. Feels rough. I mean, I guess if I Stonecoil Serpent turn 3, that is an option. But I kind of feel like if we're cutting the 2 mediocre, like 3 mana 2/3s, we just cut the Guardian package as a whole. And that would be 3 cuts here, bringing us down to 40 cards. It'd be kind of perfect. Kind of simple. Yeah, I think we do it. Cut down to 40 cards here. Now we're pretty low on black spells as well. The only double black card is Sir Conrad. Strong enough to wait a little bit, so we go up to 10 blue sources, so that Mystic Sanctuary every now and then will be able to pick up an instant or sorcery in the late game. On this 10-7 split, I don't think we quite want to go down to just 6 swamps with Sir Conrad still, because Sir Conrad is still quite strong. But yeah, that looks like a deck to me, and it looks like a great way to start off the return to Throne of Eldraine. Alright, here we are on the play for game 1. We've got Eye Collector turn 1 to start fueling our Drown in the Loch. Make sure this can destroy or counter pretty much anything. I guess it's always going to be one turn behind at this rate, which is slightly awkward. But as soon as they cast like one instant or sorcery, then it'll be tied with the mana value of spells they'd be casting. Because then they'll have 2 cards in their grave on turn 2, 3 on turn 3, and so on. Well, I guess not if they immediately kill the Eye Collector. So this is just counter or kill a 2-drop. For now. Alright, we're chilling. It is the blue-black mirror match. I expect to see a good amount of blue-black. It is the strongest archetype in the format. It can support the most players at each draft pod. So certainly expect to see it more than the other archetypes at the very least. There's the spinning wheel for some ramp. Now we find it turn into a pumpkin, but we awkwardly do not have the 3rd blue source. So we grant our wish here. Or I just do this without getting the food token, honestly. The food is not that good. If granted were an instant, this turn would be really easy. But I already know what I'm playing next turn. I'm playing Sir Eleonora no matter what, so... Actually not really a specific card in the sideboard I really want to grab right now. Because no matter what I grab, I won't be playing it for 2 turns anyway, so I can wait for more information. Maybe they're about to mill us a ton, and then we go ahead and specifically grab the Forever Young. So they're holding up probably Didn't Say Please here. They counter turn into a pumpkin, that's pretty good. Then Sir Eleonora resolves. Okay, so... Secret Keeper resolving is still really nice for me, because it allows Drown in the Loch to kill or counter pretty much everything. So against double blue open, 4 mana up, they played nothing. Well, 5 mana up, they played nothing. I highly doubt we're supposed to just tap out for basically our win condition this game. So dropping Secret Keeper is gonna protect that and still set us up really well for the future. Yeah, and we probably do counter Didn't Say Please here. Guess if I wait till 7 mana... If I wait till 7 mana, I can still play Sir Eleonora and hold up the Drown in the Loch alongside her. But this feels really nice. Wait. I actually don't think I can do that here, though, yet. Yeah, there's 2 engraved. Never mind. I can't counter that. I'm 1 card off from the mana value I need. Alright, well those are good mills here. Good mills for Forever Young. Oh, I forgot this only hits non-creatures. Still pretty good. Still pretty good for us. And that actually makes it even better that I cut Forever Young just to add to the options for non-creature cards. Okay, we can counter a 3-drop now, so we can counter a Didn't Say Please in the future, so we can still go for that turn 7 Sir Eleonora. And that's actually huge. Sir Eleonora plus Forever Young is big. Might even hold on to the Forever Young till after Eleonora, so we have a chance of returning her. Although here they hold up blue-black, so they could be holding up their own Drown, and that's about it. We can drown their Drown here, so we play around it because we're still under 0 pressure. We're under like 1 damage a turn worth of pressure. So, I guess play around the Drown here and just play all our 2-drops, which means not holding this for Sir Eleonora, which is fine. Boop, 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 boop. It's gonna make their Drown in the Loch style cards significantly worse. And we want to top deck... I don't think the order matters too much. It's probably Serpent. If I top deck Secret Keeper right now, then they know that we're holding up Drown in the Loch. Because I'm not just going to tap out for Secret Keeper currently. We probably do it this way. Eye Collector last. I don't know. they're all pretty good. We'll just put all the 6-drops on top and start rolling all those out. That should still be plenty to win with. So they tapped out there into blue-black. They didn't have a Drown in the lock. And they only have 2 cards left in their hand, so I'm not super concerned about playing counterspells anymore, so the fact that we aren't hitting the 7th land by putting all this on top is super fine, because even if they do have 1 more counterspell, now we have 4, like, must-be-dealt-with threats to cast in a row. Should put them in a hard position here. Alright, I take 1. Lash of Thorns, get a little 2-for-1 here. Get a little 2-for-1 here, because I'm not going to be able to hold this up anyway when I'm casting all of these bombs. Not bombs, but win conditions. Serpent's a bomb. We cast Serpent first. It's the most protected and also the most deadly. Has protection from Drown in the Lock, because that spell's multicolored. Does not have protection from Spinning Wheel, but Spinning Wheel only gets to tap 1 of our card per turn, and it costs all of their mana to do that. Run away together. Alright, we will be perfectly happy with recasting this. Am I losing my mind? How did we know? Oh, they Witch's Cottage the Gargoyle back. I see. I say, how did we know they put that back on top? Witch's Gargoyle is how. Alright, now for mana efficiency. Mill them and drop Eleonora or Carriage. We have a good 1-drop. We did mill a Clackbridge Troll and a Secret Keeper. Or sorry, a Drown in the Lock. Getting all of my wires crossed because they're running the same deck. We cannot get any damage in because they can just jump that gargoyle into the sky and bounce our big booties off each other. Ooh, Castle Lockthwain. I'm pretty sure they were in our draft pod. They genuinely might have been in our draft pod. They took the Castle Lockthwain and the troll we passed them. If so, Queen of Ice, we passed a lot of those. That would be funny. Oh, there's another Drown in the Lock. All right, they're over it regardless. We're in an incredible position here. We're a bunch of cards ahead, and we have the bigger board by having this gigantic Sir Eleonora, and it costs them, what, 7 mana to tap Eleonora? 5 plus the 2? No, Sir Eleonora only taxes spells that cast her, but still looks really good there. All right, they just had really, really small creatures drawn there. Is really what that game came down to. They hit much smaller spells than we did for the late game. There's always an alternate universe where they hit stuff like that troll before we had interaction, and that game could have went the other way around, but went pretty well for us this time, and we start off 1-0. Alright, here we are for game 2. Let's see if we're on the mirror match again. We've got Dispute if we are, and we are not. Our opponent starts with a Forest. Let's see exactly what's going on in their deck with Merfolk Secret Keeper Mono Green. In this format, you can expect genuine mono-color decks, so we have no reason to assume otherwise yet. Still would be a little bit bold of an assumption to 100% think they're mono-green, but again, it's certainly possible here. I kind of want to hold Mystical Dispute up next turn. But I can always Charm Sleep like their first threat. Yeah. Well, I'll Eye Collector here. I can Reversal their first threat and then Charm Sleep the next one. Okay. Dispute tap land's going to be a little awkward here, but it is what it is. I had the opportunity to get it out of the way last turn to guarantee a 3-drop here, but fine. We might not even be in a position where we want to cast Mystical Dispute. Yeah, they're definitely mono green if they're playing adamant cards like Hedgewalker. They're at least like probably like a 12-5 split towards green over anything else. 5 cards in grave, we can completely counter this basically with So Tiny. Oh, wait, no, we can't. Never mind. Misremembered the card. I got that mixed up with... There's some other one that's like the exact same thing, but it gets minus X, where X is number of cards in their grave. Well, that was obviously bad, but now I hold up Mystical Dispute. Yeah, we're brushing off the dust. Trying to relearn the format. Now it works. It was one card off from stopping it from actually removing. Or actually countering the removal spell. Yeah, we're in a great position against mono green. If they play like a big threat with no good ETB effect, we Charm Sleep it. If it has a great ability, we didn't say please. We're so locked in here in the controlling role against mono green. And they're so flooded. I do love to see that. In fact, we're so locked in here, I don't even think we ever choose not to hold up our counterspell at this rate. Just in case. I mean, I can't think of almost any threats that we couldn't just Charmed Sleep. So maybe we could have just tapped out for Sir Eleanor there. Yeah, Tree Folk, we can just Charm Sleep that. 6th land is perfect. I can Charm Sleep and still have Didn't Say Please up. Flaxen Intruder, 3 bears. Okay, that's something I would have to straight up counter. So real good to have the counter spell still for that. Okay, Sir Eleanora's definitely the play. Yep. If we can hit a land, that'd be perfect. Beautiful. We're down to 15 cards in deck. Wildwood Tracker? Yeah, you can have a 1/1. You can even make it a little bigger. That's fine too. Still small enough to die to Reeve Soul. And that part's not okay. I would rather mill them 4 more than draw 1 more card. And there's the concession from our opponent. Just a firm, controlling victory that game. Our opponent flooded out a good chunk in the early game, which helped a lot. But it's also just a pretty bad matchup for mono-green creatures. Alright, here we are for game 3 on the draw again. Has not been a problem for us so far, so we'll see if we can just keep it up. No play till turn 3 on the draw could be a little rough here. I still don't think we mulligan with very reasonable mana. Mono green again. Turn 2 Lucky Clover, double all of their adventures that they cast. That's going to be sketchy. This is one of the cards that can just completely pop off, or it can sit there doing nothing. Really depends what they draw alongside it, but that could be very bad for me. So here, a 4-drop is what I could counter. I've got the Runaway together, so if it's just like a good creature or something, we're fine. It's going to be a while till I can hold this up and cast anything else. I think I just run out the Tome Raider this game. Alright, cool. Nothing to counter anyway. Now, this is going to be suspicious to just mill 4 and not also play the 0/4. Plus, again, I can still hold up Runaway together after casting Secret Keeper, and any creatures as threats I can just bounce regardless. Yeah, just hold up a Runaway together. Hope that's good enough here against green, red, white. 3-color. Don't see a lot of 3-color in this format. But here we are for this game, seeing it. They're still stuck on 3 mana here. I think they are more than far enough behind to let them resolve 1 threat, so we're just going to keep the pressure on with Enchanted Carriage here. Especially because, again, if it's a permanent, if it's not like a really strong instant or sorcery, we can just bounce that permanent back anyway. All right, they have found the white source, Wandermare. So as they're casting creatures with adventures, they're getting +1/+1 counters onto Wandermare. Our deck is pretty great against that card with the amount of bounce and tap and stuff like that. So I'm feeling perfectly fine here. In fact, I could Scavengers it back right now, but I'm not going to attack with the mice anyway. And if they want to trade the Wandermare into the carriage, I think that's fine. They can double block here. And actually, I could even just run away together to ruin that. Okay, they don't want to take the trade. I will still bounce that back and slow them down. That's the turn. There's mana number 5, Beloved Princess, for a 1/1 lifelinker. Twinvale Treefolk doubled up to make it a real big lifelinker, while Runaway Together is still going to play very, very well here. Get rid of all the counters on the lifelinker to still get a bunch of damage in for the turn, and I get to hold up the Mystical Dispute as well. So let's bounce the lifelinker pre-combats. They don't gain any life off their blocks this turn. We bounce Secret Keeper, probably. 23 cards in their deck. Maybe we bounce Tome Raider. It would be a pre-combat Tome Raider bounce. I don't want to bounce Tome Raider pre-combat. I want to get one more damage in with it. But I don't know. It feels like a position where I'm supposed to get the extra pressure by drawing another card and hoping it's something that impacts the board here. So this is probably the wrong play, but we're being a little greedy on it. Bounce off a 4-power creature, go to 8. Land 6, get a food token. They do have 6 life gain worth of food on board, and there's Keeper of Fables, dispute that. No blocker from there. They do still get the Beloved Princess, but that's certainly less bad for us than the 4/5 body. Put a Runaway Together back on top. That actually seems pretty good. I think I'll do that. Runaway Together as the draw for turn would be kind of big here. Just noticed something that I don't love. That is that Scavengers, or not Scavengers, but the carriage trades into the Princess here if I send it in right now. Yeah, so we just bounce off and deal 1 this turn. Yeah, no, we need the Runaway Together to actually get swings. Got a lot of food tokens here. They could get stable, but if they can't get stable and turn it around, we'll still have that mill inevitability in the late game. Got another mill 4 coming. Gain 1, sure. They got a +3/+3 combat trick? Alright. Sure. No more mill 4, but we can draw another card. That does buy them a lot of time. Okay. Very good Runaway Together turn. Alright, so they're just going to bounce off to play around it. Fair enough. Feel like I can just pass here. Drop the Treefolk, buff the Wandermare. And we are gonna be chilling and milling at this point. 16 cards. Chilling and milling. There's the Drown in the Lock. Pass the turn. Ten cards in grave. feel like I would rather hold the counterspell for later. In case something really, really bad happens, I can trade one of these into this, since they're not going to get in for damage anymore anyway. And I have more than enough to make sure they don't, like, combat trick and win that. Adversary. Death Touch is pretty annoying. I can still trade the carriage into that. Fae of Wishes. Absolutely beautiful. My wish has been granted. Just Forever Young or Golden Egg here. It's probably Forever Young, right? Yep, Secret Keeper Scavengers as the draws. Beautiful draws at this point in the game. Secret Keeper to the top because we can afford to play it immediately. They're down to 11 cards here, and I still hold up one piece of interaction. Excellent. Now I can run away to gather a Secret Keeper to put them down to 6 cards in library, and things are starting to look really, really bad for our opponent. Send in the team. So might as well do this. So bounce the adversary either way. Alright, instant speed removal's pretty good here. No more mill, so it is going to be 10 cards left from our opponent. But they're down to 2 threats. 3/5 and a 2/3, and I can make the 3/5 a 1/3 off of Scavengers. Oh no, I can't. I don't have an artifact or enchantment anymore. That's still fine. I've got the 4/5 to bounce the Curious Pair. Or to bounce off of the Curious Pair forever. We drown the adversary now. Actually, might even just kill them with combat damage at this point. I have to kill this thing, or I have to trump it every single turn because we can't really let them card draw here. I mean, them drawing cards does make them die to mill faster, but it also lets them draw into outs by like double spelling us a couple turns in a row for a lot of pressure, if they are lucky. There's Sir Farron, which is a good chunk of damage. An extra 4 power to the board because every time it attacks. Oof, but another runaway together here. And we're probably pretty golden from there. Got one more Secret Keeper in this deck. Yeah, basically if I draw the Secret Keeper, they're just dead. They do still have a food. They're basically at 10, I'd be hitting for 2. It's probably better to play defensive and just lock in that mill victory. The Flyer of Their Own, that's another one that gets bigger. Oh, it gives the adventure creatures the +1/+1 counters. It doesn't put the counters on itself. Ooh. Hello there. It's another mill path. They've got 6 cards left. Secret Keeper would instantly mill the rest of their library. One of my 19 cards left is Secret Keeper. It's probably not enough to wait on it here when I can just counter their removal spell. Double food token, really make sure we're not killing them. with combat damage. But that's fine, as long as I'm not dying, they will mill out first. Find a Charmed Sleep. This might be a little aggressive, but we can speed up that milling. Could pick up the Fae of Wishes and cast Granted, but I wouldn't have the mana up for the golden egg we pick up off of it right now anyway. I feel like maybe we should be main decking the golden egg. Just so that Granted can't actually pick up like a Trail of Crumbs or something. Now and then we can get a non-blue-black spell. Or an Improbable Alliance or something like that. Although I suppose another route to take is like if a game goes really long like that, there's always like the possibility that we Granted for like a mountain, pick up the Fae of Wishes, recast Granted for the Improbable Alliance. Right? We can always just grab the basic we need, which is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Deck's working out great so far, so we'll just keep it up. We're 3-0 heading into game 4. Here we are on the draw again. As I've said, it's worked out fine so far. But, that is a little wild. I think that's 4 in a row. It's at least 3 in a row. I don't remember game 1 at this point. My memory doesn't work that great. And this untaps a land, right? Nope, artifact or creature. Okay. So we double Eye Collector then instead of Quarter Monitor. And we are setting up for just Sir Conrad the Machine Gun. Double Eye Collector to trigger off of the mills. It's gonna be gross. Our opponent is on green-black food, so we might have to be on a late-game mill victory here if they get enough food production. There's a Fierce Witch Stalker. You didn't say please, though. So we're not going to deal with that. 4/4 trample plus food token from our opponents. This is so funny, but I'm about to wish for a swamp. Because Sir Conrad next turn is just so big, we have to lock that in. I wish for a swamp. Lockthwain Gargoyle. Well, so much for the Eye Collectors. Ooh, they even outmuscle one of them. Brutal. That does mean one of them hits this turn and gets that Sir Conrad machine gun going. Sir Conrad goes... I think we milled both our Secret Keepers. That would be sad if I didn't have Fae of Wishes. I can forever young both Secret Keepers back to mill 8 later. I pick this up for like Granted here. I've got the Quarter Monitor for the Scavengers, so I don't think I cast it here. Which means I hold these lands, because I can do this at instant speed, right? Discard 2 cards, return to hand, instant speed. Yes, I can. So, we... Fae of Wishes... I guess I do still need to play one of the lands to hold up the ability to do that. Yeah, I need to play Quarter Monitor this turn because I need to be able to Scavengers bounce something next turn. But I also want to have the backup plan of picking up the Fae of Wishes here. Which is awkward, because then it means picking up the Fae of Wishes means discarding the Scavengers. But it's probably worth it, because we discard the Scavengers and then we forever young it right back alongside the mill 8. Alright, Foreboding Fruit. Hey, draw a couple cards means you mill a little faster. We like to see that. Ooh, they're tapped out of Gargoyle Flying as well, which is huge. Not that it matters, because we just Scavengers this turn, since we got to keep the artifact. Boom! Now I can't save the Fae of Wishes, but that is fine, because if they have removal at this point, they have to kill Scavengers. They're so low. Prophet of the Peak. They play a good blocker on the ground. Keywords on the ground. We've got 2 damage a turn in the sky minimum. Lockthwain Gargoyle. We get a Drown in the Loch to hold up here. Feels good. I can hold that up even after... Well, after picking up and recasting Fave Wishes, but not if I use Granted. I could kill the Prophet and just keep the damage coming in. That's probably better. Alright, there's the concession from our opponent, and we are 5-0. Just undefeated our way right into being in the money off of our first draft for the return trip. No matter what, we're leaving the event with more gems than we paid in. No, we're 4-0. I'm speedrun. I'm speedrunning faster than I'm actually playing. I'm jumping ahead here. We're 4-0, not 5-0. But we did get to go undefeated into at least breaking even. So whatever happens here, we sped on our way into a solid record, a positive win rate, no matter how things go from here. Here we are for game 5 on the draw again. We need to hit an island or we're going to have some issues. But we're on the draw, so we got a lot of draw steps to do it. We did find it immediately. Pretty slow here, and white is one of the most aggressive colors, so they could just aggro us out of the game. Two mana, 3/1. It's all for now. Here's a 1/1 to trade off into that. That gets them to, at worst, throw removal at it. And if they throw removal at this, then that's solid value for me. Because I draw a card and they're down a removal spell. Ooh, the instant speed adventure. Well, incredible curve out from our opponent so far. I thought I got a turn of breathing room, but nope, they've spent every point of mana every single turn so far. And even the mono white idyllic range for the +1/+1 counter. Alright, turn 4. 4/4 Stone Coil Serpent seems like a pretty reasonable way to try to stop some damage. But the Shepherd is big enough to trade into that still, which isn't great for me. I definitely can't just hold up Didn't Say Please at 13 life. I could Charm Sleep the Shepherd here. Take 2. Yeah, it's just 2 damage off of Charm Sleep for the turn. Got some big creatures to help try to go stable in the late game with this hand. Arcanist's Owl, the 2-for-1, very, very solid card. Picks up a Scalding Cauldron or the Trapped in the Tower, so there's 2 different removal spells mono white can draw off of that, but they did not draw one. Okay. If I top deck an island, then I can Charmed Sleep and hold up Didn't Say Please next turn. So this might be a solid turn to Stone Coil to be able to do the double spell in the future. That's the hope here. Can't do the double spell. Probably still have to Charm Sleep. Alright, they're going nice and wide. 1 mana? Way to kill Stone Coil here? And I've got protection from multicolored, so I blocked there, right? What is Outflank again? Outflank MTG. Deals damage to target attacking or blocking creature equal to the number of creatures you control. 5. Wow, so they have the Outflank here too? If they have the Outflank here, I have to didn't say please that. If they don't have the outflank here, this is an insanely bold buff. Or bluff, sorry. Feel like they're on outflank. For sure. There we go. Drown in the lock so that I can double counter here. I can didn't say please and then drown in the lock after the didn't say please. Oh, we're so low though. We're so low. Didn't say please that and then drown in the lock the outflank. I feel like we still die even playing around it perfectly here. Close enough to stabilizing, though, that maybe this is like a play-draw differential game, which would be brutal. This is actually... Wait, no, this is actually really gross. Because we make it just 4 damage. And then because of protection from multicolored, the serpent doesn't die to owl. No, we might actually be stable because of the pro multicolored there. Oh my god, that's actually such a huge flip here. That's so big. And now they're playing off the top and we have Drown in the Lock for a counterspell. Yeah, because I could kill one of their creatures to stop the outflank instead of having to like full on counter it there. I could have milled, but I want to hold Drown in the Lock up no matter what at this point. Wow. What a turn for us. I'm so happy we played around the outflank. And I never would have done that if we didn't get got by outflank in an earlier game. So we're like so lucky here. They can 2-for-1 themselves to kill Sir Conrad and end up super far behind. I'm incredibly fine with that. Yep. I still have tons of ways to close this game out. And now they have no removal and no threats. And there we go. RIP opponent, that'll lock it in. They have absolutely nothing, and we hit for 9 a turn. We draw any creature and they're dead. They are not dead yet. If I drew any creature, we'd have enough to crew the carriage without tapping both mice, but they'll have to tap both mice, which means they get to stay at 1 life here. True Love's Kiss. Exile target artifact or enchantments and draw a card. They hit me for 3 here. I can stop them from drawing a card by getting rid of this Charm Sleep thing. I feel like it's not worth it. I'm just so tiny when they try to kill me. And then if that doesn't work, I still run away together. Oh, it actually is 4 damage, but we're super safe. All right. There's the concession from our opponent. They were giving us a run for the money in that one. Closest game by far. They had a great mono-white aggro start there. Got to roll out on the play using every mana every turn for efficiency. But we had a really huge swing back in our favor. Huge, huge, huge overperformer to Stone Coil Serpent. Protection from multicolored actually being incredibly relevant there, so that we could take 4 damage from outflank and 0 damage from their multicolored owl and really swing the board back in our favor. Keep ourselves protected from them on. Just an excellent, excellent recovery, and now we're 5-0 in the money out of this draft. Here we are for Game 6 on the draw again. Every game is going to start the same way. I'm going to be like, here we are on the draw again. But hasn't been a problem so far. Just the exact same dialogue. I'm like an NPC that you walk by in Skyrim. Sorcerer's Broom has arrived. If they can sack a bunch of stuff, they can get some copies of it, which is cute. they are on green-black food, so whenever they sack food tokens, they can try and get copies of the broom, even if I Charmed Sleep it. Ooh, they're a real scary green-black deck. Fierce Witch, Stalker, and Keeper of the Fables, two very, very nice beefy creatures. Carver's more filler, but still a fine card. I'm going to drop an 0-4 here, right? Hold off the broom. I'm not going to Charm Sleep it, because it's got a solid ability anyway. And I don't want to use Fae of Wishes without granting a wish. Maybe that's greedy here. Maybe a 1-4 flyer is just high enough impact on the board to roll it out. That's annoying. Yeah, Reaper's a real nice card. The 3-for-1. Oh. I don't hate going land, and then whenever we hit land 4, we can grant a wish here. Because I can already cast everything in the hand without these extra lands. And this makes granted just for a land a decent play later. Drown in the Lock? Well, it's pretty good here. Just hold that up. Garen Brigg Paladin, 5/5. I think I just Charmed Sleep that and save Drown in the Lock for something I actually have to counter. Now I can So Tiny and hold up Drown in the Lock, which is better than tapping out of my counterspell. We milled a Forever Young, so we milled one of their anti-mill cards out of their deck. Cute. My friend over there is so tiny, doesn't even matter that he's a giant. Alright, that can get Charmed Sleeped, so we can hold on to Drown in the Lock. Mana off of Charmed Sleep plus hold up the counter, but this is fine. Most of their cards are just going to be standalone threats like the Paladin that we can Charmed Sleep regardless. Sir Farron can Charmed Sleep that. Rosethorn Acolyte, alright. The Acolyte will still be around, but everything else will be dealt with. Reeve Soul. Actually pretty sick. I can't cast that and hold the Drown in the Lock, but Charmed Sleep can hit more than power 3 or less cards, whereas Reeve Soul only hits power 3 or less cards, so we just Reeve the Soul. Kill the Secret Keeper. So they hit for 4 a turn now. Yeah, getting some damage in. Now I can Charmed Sleep and hold up the Drown. Can't grant a wish and hold up the Drown right now. I've already played land for turn, so even if I wished for a land, I can't do that. We are going to be taking 2 a turn. I Drown the Reaper whenever they cast it. If I lock off the Mana Dork, it might take longer for them to cast it. Yeah, we're losing the race right now, but as soon as I cast the 1/4 flyer, we hold the broom off. Granting Forever Young here is going to be really good. Because we've milled so many cards, there's got to be some good creatures in there. Oh yeah. A Secret Keeper, a Stone Coil Serpent, obviously. Okay. Fae of Wishes. Forever Young. $14 cards left here. I poke and cast the Fae and then pass. Unless they like top deck another Reaper, then we should be fine. If they play another Reaper and make me discard Forever Young, then that's going to be rough. because then I don't pick up my bombs and they've got a 4 or 5 to kill me with. But against pretty much anything else, that play should be real great, and it does lock us into the victory. They are over it, and we are 6-0, heading into game number 7, the final boss, with an undefeated deck. All right, here we are for the final battle with a mill-loaded hand here. We're on the draw again. I think that's 7 for 7, but it hasn't mattered so far. We're going to go with Merfolk Secret Keeper Mill turn 1. We've got the Runaway Together to do it again. Got the Didn't Say Please. Counter something sketchy. It's mono white aggro again. Probably the worst matchup for a slower hand like this. But we did pretty well last time against mono red on the draw. Or sorry, mono white on the draw. We cast the Secret Keeper to have a blocker up. Well, this could be wrong, but they probably don't have another haste creature in mono white, so I actually am going to play it really safe. And I'm not going to cast the Secret Keeper till I have Runaway Together up alongside it. Because double Runaway Together are significantly better when I can actually bounce my own Secret Keeper than when I can't. And that's going to give us much, much, much more mill than if I play the Secret Keeper and they, like, throw a Cauldron at it or something. I guess mono white's not going to have a lot of ways to kill it that, like, permanently take it off the board. You know, in fact, I'm under so little pressure here, taking 1 damage a turn. I just pass and hold up Didn't Say Please. And then next turn I can cast Secret Keeper and still hold up Didn't Say Please or Runaway Together. Sure, yeah, take 2, go to 15. Oh yeah, this is significantly less scary than the last mono white deck. I'm feeling pretty good so far, but that can change on a dime. Depends how great their bombs could be here. But for now, it's 1 Ginger Brute versus 1 Merfolk. And that's the game we've got ourselves into. End Step So Tiny is going to be the play. But I'm holding up Didn't Say Please until the end step. Alright, 3/4 flyer. I think I'd rather Runaway Together that and mill them more. Have them recast a 5-drop. Feels better. So Tiny Ginger Brutes with our remaining mana. Tome Raider's the draw. Yeah, sorry, Sir Eleonora, but we're going really annoying mill this game. Hold up the Didn't Say Please just in case, but they're probably going to recast the 3/4 and then we play Secret Keeper, bounce it again next turn. But we still take 0 for now, and I can play Secret Keeper and hold up Didn't Say Please next turn again. Maybe take 3 to do that, but that's fine. Got tons of time right now. Twenty cards left in their deck. Ginger Brute. Unblockable every turn can get threatening. I think I have enough time to not worry about that. 11. Sir Alan. Okay, that is scarier than everything they played so far. That will get Didn't Say Pleased. Okay, now I'm not holding up a counterspell no matter what. I'm just holding up a single Runaway Together, so we Tome Raider and Runaway Together here. Yeah, we definitely need to slow down the Prize Griffin. There's no instants that are going to stop me from bouncing their prize griffin. They could stop me from bouncing my own secret keeper by killing it in response to Runaway Together, but that's not the end of the world. Down to 10. Prize Griffin is back. Just looking for all our charmed sleeps at this point. So we dig with Sir Eleonora for sure. If I top deck exactly Reeve Soul, I'm going to be unhappy that I didn't hold a black mana up, but otherwise, I guess I get to Corridor Monitor instead of Merfolk Secret Keeper, worst case scenario. Yeah, no, we definitely hold the black up in case we top deck Reeve Soul here. Because Reeve Soul on Prize Griffin would be big. Okay, did not hit the Reeve Soul. So the play is Corridor Monitor over Secret Keeper. I guess it doesn't really matter because we're not blocking anything on the ground. I mean, if I get halfway through the deck and don't find any of the hard removal, none of the 2 Drown in the Loch, none of the 2 Charmed Sleeps, and none of the 1 Reeve Soul, there's 5 pieces of hard removal. If we find none of it to kill the Griffin, we will die. I think I actually have to chump here, because we're taking 1 Gingerbrute damage every turn, even after we deal with the prized Griffin. There we go. Drown in the Loch. Hopefully just in time. Okay, more than enough cards in their grave to kill this Griffin. And we make sure to play more than enough blockers for their ground troops, and actually just hold on to the Secret Keeper right now. Because this is like infinite blockers right now. We just take 1 from Gingerbrute every turn. So I'm going to keep these in hand to make Sir Eleonora bigger and actually be able to crack back a little. Down to 8. There's a Jousting Dummy. And trade up. 6 mana, yeah, that trades up into the Carriage or Sir Eleonora. There's Charmed Sleep to deal with it, but I think we're Charmed Sleeping Gingerbrute. Honestly, at this point. Rather that they trade up into Sir Eleonora than Enchanted Carriage, because I have to hold up extra cards for Sir Eleonora to stay big enough to keep attacking here. I'm going to attack with Eleonora, offer the trade. Jousting Dummy's never getting in because of our double mouse. So I'm definitely free to attack with at least 1 creature here. Yeah, Sir Eleonora, it's just going to be hard to keep enough cards in hand for her to be that big. So if they want to trade Dummy up, I'm pretty fine with it. They are going to trade the Dummy up. Okay. Now I don't need to hold cards in hand, so we are going to Charmed Sleep the Gingerbrutes. Get a mill 4. And get ready to start setting the pumpkin into their face. They're down to 8 cards in library. Time to apply pumpkin directly to their forehead. Pumpkin. Down to 12. Playing these lands out because holding any more than one land is really redundant. I don't even know if we want to hold one land here because we could have a big turn that needs a ton of mana. If we top deck our Wish Fairy thing, we can cast Granted into Forever Young into the best creature in Grave, which costs a lot of mana to play all that together. They found another Ginger Brute, so we're on a 7-turn clock. Little scary. Almost missed my ability to send this in. Thank you, Arena, for holding for a second. I appreciate you. We do die slightly before they mill out, I think. Or they mill out slightly before we die. Wait, they draw, they're at 6. Hit me to 6. So they draw the last card in their deck, then they hit me to 0. Yeah, they kill me 1 millisecond before they mill out right now. Because you can survive with 0 cards in your library, but you can't survive with 0 cards, or with 0 life. So if it continues at this rate, they're going to have 0 cards in deck and we're going to have 0 life. They don't die until they draw from their empty library. Chump gains some life here to buy the time. Yep. But this Eye Collector, if they can't kill it, is going to make the mill race in our favor here. Alright, unblockable Ginger Brute. Down to 6. Post-combat, Glass Casket to exile the Eye Collector. Alright, they're still barely winning the race here. Turn into a pumpkin, that'll do it for us for sure. Just the gain 3 alone. Actually bounce my own Secret Keeper. Is that my best play? I could bounce their Glass Casket, or bounce their Ginger Brute, or... It's a lot of options, but to turn into a pumpkin. I think my best play is just straight up bounce my own Secret Keeper here. Maybe even bounce the carriage for 2 more mice is fine. This is the pumpkin game here. We're jamming in with a pumpkin. We're going to turn a Secret Keeper into a pumpkin for value. Pumpkin's OP. Please nerf. Our opponent has multiple Ginger Brute on board, so Arena's always going to hold for them because of the 1-mana ability to give it haste, or give it unblockable. They can do that at any time. Alright, Adamants. Pick up the Secret Keeper to gain 3 and mill 4, which is massive right now. Down to 2 cards left in their library. Those were some big draws if they hit those. Yikes. Some great mills for us. And the really big one being the Silver Flame Squire to help win that race. But Rally for the Throne would have helped win combat damage races. Yeah, I guess I over-exaggerated. The Silver Flame Squire would have been a really good draw. Hit for 3 with Ginger Brute on 1 swing would have been pretty scary, but we did get the food token there, so we ended up really, really locked in for the victory in the end game. And that's it. That is an incredible showing from Blue-Black, the strongest archetype in this format. Just really got to show you the cream of the crop, the best kind of decks that you can end up drafting in Throne of Eldraine. Somewhat of the bane of the format, certainly during quick drafts. The format was kind of a nightmare because literally everyone gets to end the draft with a deck like this. In Premier Draft, especially a few days after the return, after we've had the flashback drafts for a little while and everybody's played against this deck a couple times, there should be more competition in the draft pods where it's a little less easy to get late Secret Keepers and all the other stuff for the deck, like Wheeling Drown in the Lock and stuff like that. So really, really strong deck. Definitely draft it while you still can if you are interested in playing it, but it's a strong enough deck. The colors are really strong. They're the strongest colors in the format to where they can support multiple drafters at the table, to where if you're feeling like they're somewhat open colors, you can pretty consistently draft this kind of deck no matter what. But it might not be so busted, so easy to get into the archetype and just be 7-0 each time, like it probably is during day one, which is when I'm recording right now. So yeah, nice to show off the strongest archetype in the format, the one you really need to have your eyes out on, and make sure that you're seeing these cards like Secret Keepers as massive signals to try to play in that space, play in that direction. The Drown in the Locks, the Didn't Say Please, the Runaway Togethers. Runaway Together, kind of the most inconspicuous of these cards that happens to be really, really good in this kind of deck. So definitely important to show it off for those returning to the format, and it's nice to get it out of the way for our first draft so we can explore some of the less established, less powerful archetypes the format has for offer in the future. But with that 7-0 incredible record out of the way, that's gonna end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.